McLaren's internal investigation into their Las Vegas weekend has uncovered something serious enough that the team is now pushing the FIA for a major regulatory rethink. What they found isn't just a small technical issue or a harmless anomaly. It's evidence showing a weakness in the rulebook, one that could impact any team at any time for something they never intended and never benefited from. And McLaren are no longer staying quiet about it. Once they reviewed every sensor, every piece of telemetry, and every millimeter of skid block wear, the conclusion became impossible to ignore. Their drivers were disqualified for an infringement so marginal and so clearly caused by conditions outside their control that the team now believes the system itself is flawed. The investigation didn't deny the breach. It revealed something more important. The rules offer no fairness, no proportionality, and no space for context. If a technical regulation is broken by a fraction of a millimeter, the punishment is identical to a major violation. And that is why McLaren are calling for change, not quiet conversations, but a proper reconsideration of how technical penalties are applied in Formula One. Their findings raised a question the FIA can't avoid anymore. If the rules can erase a podium over tiny wear caused by unpredictable bouncing, how can the sport claim to be fair? And if this happened to McLaren today, who will it happen to next? Make sure to like the video, subscribe, and stay until the end. Because what McLaren uncovered and what they're now asking from the FIA could influence the future of Formula One. From the moment McLaren began their internal review, the team knew they weren't just checking off a formality or trying to justify a disappointing outcome. They wanted answers, no simulation, no practice session, and no predictive model had given them. What emerged was not one mistake, not a strategic miscalculation, but a chain of events that revealed a deeper problem in how Formula One interprets its technical regulations. What they discovered went beyond skid wear. It raised concerns about a system that treats accidental millimeters the same way as intentional wrongdoing. And that's why McLaren now believe an update to the rules is necessary. Once the engineers broke down the Las Vegas data, a clear pattern appeared. In the opening laps, the cars experienced levels of bouncing far beyond anything seen in practice. The forces were so strong that the skid blocks were repeatedly striking the track more than expected. This wasn't McLaren lowering the cars too much. They had actually raised them. This wasn't reckless setup work. They had added safety margin. But the sudden return of severe oscillations caused by cold track temperatures, extreme speeds, surface behavior, and the unique flow of the Vegas layout created a scenario no model predicted. Lando Norris's car gave a clearer picture thanks to complete telemetry. But Oscar Piastri's situation became more complicated when one of his grounding sensors stopped working mid-race. The team suddenly had to manage a car with incomplete data, reacting to indicators that were delayed or missing. For a team as precise as McLaren, this is the worst position. Knowing a problem exists, but lacking exact measurements to track it. Even then, they instructed both drivers to adjust their driving, lift in certain areas, and try to reduce the impacts. But nothing fixed the core issue. Slowing down in some sectors, which should increase ride height, made other sectors worse. The car settled differently, the aero balance shifted, and the oscillations became unpredictable. Some corners improved, others became harsher. By the time the race ended, the team already suspected the skid plates had suffered more wear than intended. They just didn't know whether it would stay within the limits. The post-race inspection confirmed their concerns with numbers that looked tiny on paper but serious under FIA rules. When the FIA released the measurements, McLaren didn't dispute them. The gauges showed Norris exceeded the minimum skid thickness by 0.12 millimeters and Piastri by 0.26 millimeters. For perspective, that's thinner than a grain of sand or a single layer of a human hair. But Formula One's technical regulations use absolute thresholds. A fraction over the limit equals the same penalty as a major violation. Intent doesn't matter. Circumstances don't matter. Performance gain doesn't matter. If the part is below the minimum, the car is considered non-compliant, and the outcome is disqualification. No alternatives. No flexibility. This is where McLaren's frustration turned into something bigger than losing a result. When they met with the FIA's technical officials and confirmed the measurements, both sides acknowledged that the wear was small, isolated, and unintended. With cars evolving, ride heights lowering, floors generating more load, and porpoising always a lurking threat, the chances of another accidental breach will only increase as the technical landscape becomes more demanding. Their push is not about gaining anything for themselves. It's about preventing future races from being decided not by driving skill, not by strategy, not by engineering brilliance, but by a mechanical quirk or unpredictable surface condition that no team intended or benefited from. It's about ensuring that punishment matches wrongdoing. It's about protecting the integrity of how results are earned. And most importantly, it's about ensuring Formula One does not become a championship where microscopic technical deviations overshadow genuine sporting competition. Now the spotlight shifts firmly to the FIA. McLaren have provided the evidence, explained the mechanics, demonstrated that the breach was minimal, and exposed a real weakness in the regulation framework. The FIA has acknowledged the issue privately, but acknowledging a problem is one thing. Fixing it is another. With titles still on the line and tension growing across the paddock, the question becomes whether the FIA acts swiftly or waits until the season concludes. Either way, what McLaren have uncovered has changed the entire conversation. This is no longer about Las Vegas. This is about fairness. This is about proportionality. This is about the soul of the sport. And if anyone thought the drama ended with Max Verstappen inheriting extra points, they're mistaken. The real fight, the one that could reshape how Formula One polices itself, might only just be getting started. At the end of all this, one thing has become absolutely clear. McLaren's investigation has forced Formula One to confront an issue the sport has ignored for far too long. What happened in Las Vegas wasn't just an unfortunate technical breach or a quirky one-off incident caused by a wild night race in the desert. It was a warning shot. A reminder that the rulebook we rely on to define fairness can in certain situations produce outcomes that feel anything but fair. McLaren aren't accusing, complaining, or looking to rewrite the past. They're doing something far more important. They're asking the FIA to bring logic, nuance, and proportionality back into a system that currently treats microscopic accidents as if they were deliberate acts of engineering misconduct. And the fact that the FIA have acknowledged this behind closed doors is telling. It means they know the system is too rigid. They know a fraction of a millimeter shouldn't carry the same weight as a major attempt to break the rules. They know the sport's credibility is at stake when outcomes depend on technical margins, so small they're invisible to the naked eye. McLaren have laid out the evidence clearly. No advantage gained, no intent to deceive, just a collision of unpredictable variables that slip through the cracks of an uncompromising regulation. And when even the governing body accepts this reality, the path forward becomes almost inevitable. Now the responsibility lies with the FIA. Do they act quickly and reshape the penalties for technical infringements before another team is wiped out by circumstance? Or do they delay and risk another storm of controversy when the next tiny irregularity emerges? The teams are watching, the drivers are watching, and the fans who want to see championships decided on track rather than in the steward's room are watching. Most of all, McLaren have done their part. They've exposed the flaw, they've presented the evidence, and they've demanded change. Whether the FIA take the next step will determine not only how future races are judged, but how the sport defines fairness in an era of ever-growing complexity. If Las Vegas taught us anything, it's that Formula One can still be blindsided by its own rules. And unless those rules evolve, it won't be the last time. The next move is the FIA's. And whatever they decide will shape the battles, the controversies, and the integrity of the seasons to come.